call on the Territorial member, Honorable Carvin Malone.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for allowing me the opportunity to speak. I don't think I will need the entire 1.5 hours. But, Madam Speaker, we are here not only to debate the Commission of Inquiry recommendations of Commissioner Higginbottom that were presented to the people. First, may I seek your indulgence in, let's see, now to actually refer to my notes from time to time?
Yes.
Great. Speaker, we are here not only to debate the Commission of Inquiry's recommendation of Commissioner Higginbottom that were presented to the people of the Virgin Islands through the Governor on 4th April 2022, and not only to review the proposal submitted to the United Kingdom government on behalf of the people of the Virgin Islands by the National Unity Government of the Virgin Islands on June 16th, I think it was, 2022. I humbly submit that the special sitting of the House of Assembly must assist in securing the principles of transparency, accountability, responsibility, and that of good governance that are critical in charting the future of our constitutional relationship or modern partnership and the advancement of our much-loved British Virgin Islands. Madam Speaker, on the occasion of my 21st 2021 appearance before the Commission of Inquiry, I submitted a written statement in which I predicted that, though not originally envisaged, the final Commission of Inquiry report will serve as a blueprint for the United Kingdom's discharge of its obligation to assist and to prepare the people of the Virgin Islands in determining their future as it relates to political advancement. As with all other administrating powers, that is what the United Nations committed to, and it is what the United Kingdom is obligated to ensure. Madam Speaker, as a people, we must self-assess and we must make decisions. No longer can we devolve our political future to the whims and fancy of others. It is my considered view that the following questions must be raised and vigorously debated by our territory's strategic partners, by all Virgin Islanders and belongers. These questions should include and should not be limited to one, collectively. Do we know what we as a people want? And more important, do we know what we do not want? Is it acceptable or correct for the United Kingdom to seek to impose its global Britain's agenda on the people of the Virgin Islands as an overseas territory, whether subliminally or unilaterally? What do we desire from our continuing relationship with the United Kingdom as an overseas territory? It's a question that we must ask. Should self-determination be actively pursued by the BVI at this time, in keeping with the United Nations mandate of decolonization of all non-self-governing territories by 2030? Should closer relationships be forged with our 5 neighboring overseas territories of the United Kingdom? Should our neighboring overseas territories seek to create a joint union of United Kingdom overseas territories as an independent body. Should the Virgin Islands seek to forge closer political, economic, and social relationships with CARICOM and other administrating powers? What are the vulnerabilities of our economic pillars, and how can they be addressed with the goal of strengthening and diversifying our economy? What other issues must be taken into consideration, must be debated and addressed at this critical time in our economic, political, and our social evolution as a people, with proper reflections of our history? Madam Speaker, it is my view, my considered view, that consideration must be given to these and other issues, as opposed to repetitive and circular conversations related to our relationship with the United Kingdom and the way forward for our territory. The day for decision-making is upon us. We must not fail our past, and we must not fail our future. Madam Speaker, I submit that success is reserved for prepared and resolved warriors. Success is gained only with passion. We must never stop being assertive. We must never stop fighting. Fighting to preserve and build on the achievements and the successes of our forebears. Fighting to impart the history of our people and our prized heritage. Fighting to protect both local and foreign investors and investments. Fighting to avoid the suspension of our Constitution, whether in part or in whole. Fighting to avoid the return of any ministerial subjects that have been devolved to local government, and fighting to leave a BVI that generations yet unborn can be proud. The question is asked, is there not a cause to fight? I mentioned before, and I'll mention again, the late United States President Franklin D. Roosevelt was quoted to say, "There comes a time in the affairs of men when we must prepare to defend not their homes alone, but the tenets of faith and the humanity on which their churches, their government, and their very foundation are set. The defense of religion, of democracy, and of good faith among nations is all the same fight. To save one, we must make up our minds to save all." Madam Speaker, we must come to the understanding that there is nothing to fear but fear itself. And on that note, I urge folks who are listening by radio, folks who have tuned in to Facebook, social media, family, our friends throughout the Caribbean, and our friends as they are looking at the Foreign Development and Commonwealth Office to come closer. We may like this one. Closer, come. Come, let us reason for a bit. In any conversation or engagement, Madam Speaker, you have to set the rules of engagement. You have to decide what are the rules. And the one most common that I use is cricket, and baseball. Now, I'm accused of old school politics, but it works for me. It works even in my business. So there's no reason why it can't work here. And once it failed, well, then I will consider others. Cricket versus baseball. You hit a ball over the fence. If you're playing cricket, you don't have to run. That's 6 runs. Bam. No questions asked. If you're playing baseball and you hit the same, no, not the same ball, it's a softer ball. If you hit the ball over the fence, you have to run and touch each of the 3 bases and come home and touch home plate. And you score 1 run. If they can't find the ball and you run around 6 times, you don't get 6 runs. So you have to establish the rules. Are we playing with the same cards or the same rules? Or does the game switch? All depends on who's batting, or all depends on who's fielding. Set the rules. And, Speaker, you have to also leave for consideration the fact that there are those people who, because they believe they don't like you, they don't want to hear nothing you say. You could be telling them, look out, the roof is falling. You say, I'd rather get hit than to listen to you. They don't like you. Well, they feel as if they don't like you, so they don't want to hear you. On the other hand, if they favor you, you can tell them any kind of, well, is the word stupidness parliamentary? You can tell them anything, and they will take it wholehearted. That's a reality. That's no make-up stuff. And I post something on my Facebook page which says you have to be careful who you're arguing with, because there are those folks who they don't want to hear the truth. They have their own truths, and they will be satisfied in making sure that anything you say does not make a difference. So, and one more. There is some sad belief that you will resist being, for lack of a better terminology, I was trying to find another one other than being shot by an enemy, that somehow you don't mind being shot by a friend. Avoiding being shot is what you want to get to, whether friend or foe, whether in the front or in the back. You want to avoid being shot. So we have to look at all of these things to make sure that when we come to a place of understanding, Madam Speaker, that we look and we become a brother's keeper, because this journey, and I am going to invite people to, when you read this back, when you get this back, you look carefully, listen carefully to what the Honorable Leader of the Opposition went through, because in all of his discourse, the one central theme comes: what is the quote-unquote master plan behind all of this? What is the reason? Unless you can determine, Madam Speaker, what creates a victory for the United Kingdom, what creates a victory for the overseas territories, well, we will be the one left to guess, left to write proposal, debate against ourselves, proposals after proposals, and they're not writing back to say a word other than go and come again. The rules of engagement must be determined. What creates a victory? Because I have said to the negotiators of whatever we're going to have, find out what the British want, because at the end of the day, there is something in it will then determine what it is, when is it you have scored? Have you touched all the bases? Do you demand this, Madam Speaker? There is no, these particular infractions that were cited in the Commission of Inquiry does not equate to a suspension of our Constitution in part or in whole. We'll go through some of them. It does not. So then the big question then becomes, what is it that we're moving towards, so that we can then determine, because if you're out in the sea and you're swimming, you're trying to make land, you see a floating device, you hold on to it. It might be a straw. A drowning man reaches for a straw. When you come close enough to shore, you ever hear the phrase, I can swim from here? But if you ain't seeing the shore, you don't know whether to give up now or to keep swimming. What is it? And we cannot be placed in a position where we feel that we have sinned and have come so far from the glory that we can't ask the question. So we can then get to it. So what I've done is this. I have done, it reminds me of my Pace University days. I've done extensive research going back, and I've created a chronological order of activities, events, and circumstances so that we can again get a picture, because at the end of the day, I am sure you will have enough discourse going back and forth in terms of the 48 other provisions made. And some of them have sub-provisions, so we will be able, by the time this is done, you have to listen to the entire session to get the full gist of what. So, and I've heard the Honorable Leader of the Opposition made mention of some, if not most, of this. We looked at the West Indies Act 1962. We looked at the Constitution Order 2007. Now, it is important, and I've seen where at the end of the day, folks read through a document and somehow they miss out some. With a legal mind as yours, because I heard your statement this morning and you did quite a bit of research, so you had an active few days. A majesty in exercise of the powers conferred upon her by Section 5 and 7 of the West Indies Act 1962, and with the advice of the Privy Council, issued the Virgin Islands Constitution Order 2007, number 1678, issued the amendments that we are now, that the Honorable Leader went through, so that we can see what is it. It is an order that, based on advice from the Privy Council, based on the being laid in Parliament, that we can have. So we have to determine whether or not we want to continue in this light, or do we seek further advancements. It comes down to this. It comes down to this. And there are some people who basically are content to not seek to find out what is happening around the region, around the world. And then they reckon that we are a nation unto ourselves, that what happens there can't happen here. But I beg to differ. I try to keep up on world events so that it gives me an idea, an indication as to what is possible here. So I've been following my brothers and sisters in Scotland. I have brothers and sisters in Scotland. Malone is my last name, you know. So at the end of the day, they are, in fact, two of the members in the House of Commons were thrown out because they were shouting, give us the ability to hold a referendum on independence. Huh? Yeah. So, Scotland, I said, well, okay, fine. United Kingdom is made up of England, Wales, Scotland, and Ireland, Northern Ireland. So it went me back now to see, well, what constitutional arrangements they have. Because they are arguing that they were plucked out of the EU when most of the people want to stay in. And they're not amused. They want to secede now. If you take it to a referendum as they did some years ago, they failed to get the rest of the people to come along with them and saying, well, let's go for independence now. And they are arguing, quite amazing, that they're arguing, just as the member did just now, that all of these other 67 nations that left the United Kingdom, starting with United States of America back in 1776, all the other 67 that left, are we not as strong or stronger than any of them? What are you afraid of? This is the question they asked. They're asking now today. In fact, they may be arguing it again tomorrow. Referendums were held in Jamaica, in Canada, to do what Barbados did in terms of having the Queen removed as the head of state and become republics. Madam Speaker, there is none of this that can happen without involvement of the people. The people of the Virgin Islands must be totally informed, engaged, educated, and they must make the decisions as it relates to their political future. If you try to do it without full engagement, you will fail. And this is where we, as leaders, must be prepared to go the extra mile, even with those persons who think they don't like you. Once you give them the facts, then you're going to be able to leave them with something to consider so that they can then take a look at it in the wee hours of the morning. It must be looked at. Is there not a cause, they say? Now, the greater good becomes a question. There are certain things that have happened in the last few months that I'm no legal mind, and at 63, I don't think I'm going to law school at any time soon. But there are some readings that you do, and there's certain constitutional item, because I heard you again this morning, and you have areas of judgment that you must make and areas of complete law, and you must check on precedents, you must check to see what conventions are, and this is based on having to assist in preparation of numerous legal cases. Look at case law, what happens, what attains. And I'm not sure of any circumstance that we have like the one that we have now. But, Madam Speaker, when you have to look at the laws of the Virgin Islands. You have to look at the standing orders of this House of Assembly. We look at the Commission of Inquiry order of January 9th, 2021. And it is critical for us to examine some of these information. I'm going to make a request here now, so I want you to take some notes, if you could. The affidavit that was used in support of the granting of the Commission of Inquiry order on January 19th, 2021. I would love to have a copy of that. I don't know if it could be attained under the Freedom of Information. Madam AG, you'll be able to say, did an affidavit have to be filed in presentation to the Privy Council to get this order? If it did, I would love to see it. If we had the Commission of Inquiry report of April 4th, 2022, it was first due to come back to us on July 18th, I think it was. It was extended. I'm not sure if it was for 3 months or 6 months. What was the first extension? October? Was it extended to October or to January? It was extended to October. Okay, January. It was extended for 6 months to January. Come January, it was extended for another 3 months to April. And come April 4th, it was delivered. 440 days after its initiation. We'll get back to that because there was a question to be asked, a question to be answered. Why the rush? Because we are being rushed to do everything that we need to do under these recommendations that took 440 days to be presented to us, and within a 48-hour period, we were being rushed. Why the rush? People keep asking. People keep demanding. Why the rush? Even in some instance, to look at our Constitution and see whether or not some of that might not have been sidestepped. Some say, for the greater good. We'll see. Then, Madam Speaker, we'll get to the 2022 amendment, but we engaged the firm of Withers, and through that, Sir Jeffrey Cox, to look at defending the cabinet and defending the government at the Commission of Inquiry. Another request is being made as to the production. In fact, there's a question for Thursday, the production of the report, because we, as far as I am concerned, we engaged for it. We paid substantial monies for it, and we must get the report because it have to look in terms of this balance that is afforded, because everyone is entitled to a balanced approach in the courts, whether it's an inquiry, a murder case, pilfering, any of the particular cases. And this is what this was intended. This is what I was told. This is on what I relied. I relied on the fact that once this is all done, we will be writing almost simultaneously a report which will follow so that we can see if there were steps outside the bound. Hold on, Malone. Don't say much more. Don't jeopardize our strategy. As I said before, box like Sugar Ray. Got to back smart. Don't go out there punching. They had their say, and we can't get our day. We have to get our day so we can see what it is. History must be able to have a balanced approach on this. History must be able to say, well, okay, fine. I talk about fighting in defense of our forebears. All those persons who look in terms of from 1945, 46 and straight up. 49 was just the ending part, accumulation of all of the efforts that were had, whether by Hope Stevens, whether by actually Brother Penn, whether by all of the persons who were negotiating as to what do we do to get better representation. And if we go back to 1949 in terms of our advancement, well, we would have failed them without a fight. If you're going to fail, you have to fail with a fight. If you're going to fail, you have to fail with a fight, because I'm saying we have a lot of good things to show for all that we have done through the years. There is another request I'm going to make. This is the third one. There's an affidavit that if one is to be used, that was used to get the amendment to the order 2022, number 16, of Virgin Islands Constitution Amendment Order 2022. That's number 16 of 2022. An affidavit had to be filed because while everyone here in the Virgin Islands was saying that the arrest on the 28th of April had nothing to do with the early release of the report, when you look at the reports coming out of the UK, it was a different story. The story was the arrest shows and justifies why the Commission of Inquiry needed to take place. So there is a misconnect there as far as I am concerned. So we need to get a copy of that affidavit also, together with the first one that instituted it in the first place. And Speaker, we also looked in terms of the proposals that were made by our government to the UK. I have the draft only of that formal proposal. But I think the records, I like to be complete in my records, and I would like to have a signed copy of the proposals that were agreed between the UK government and our government for the records, because I'm saying my file cannot be incomplete. Get that. 1 before Madam Speaker, and one of the last documents we looked at was this concept of global Britain. Global Britain and the British Overseas Territories resetting the relationship. Now, we have to put this in context with what all documents would have been used in order to get the terms of reference and to see where in January of 2021, I had indicated that this might well have been a done deal, a written report waiting for a few facts, because it seems to be a particular way of doing it. Because when I looked at the Commission of Inquiry and the terms of reference for Turks and Caicos, when I looked at what was done in other territories, when I looked at the Global Britain Initiative, then we know that we had a particular problem. Some of the documents, Madam Speaker, so we can get now into the chain of activities that would lend one so that we can then see. And let me set it on this premise. It is not my intention to make it sound or believe that I can fight with or remove the demands of the United Kingdom. Because as we know, and my good friend, Brother Ilyu used to say, they have more ships than us, they have more guns than us, they have more nuclear weapons than us. In fact, we don't have any. So, this is not a fight. But if we're going to move from this stage to the other stage, then when we get there, we must be able to, quote unquote, use the bridge that we use to move from one area to another, because I think that it will be fitting, it'll be wise for us to sit at the table. Now, we always talk about equal partners, rebuilding, resetting the relationships. We talk about this partnership. We are an statutory order in our formulation. They are an administrating power. And we talk about being equals. There comes a time when we can look in terms of what constitutes this equality, because a chicken and a chicken hawk are two birds. But can a chicken seek to negotiate with a chicken hawk? How could they be equals? If you look at the grasshopper and the hen, the fowl, could they be equals? Could a grasshopper invite himself to a fall convention, to a fall summit? He'll be eaten up in a minute. I used to use the cockroach thing, but I was cautioned people might take that out of context. A cockroach can't go to a fall fight. He will have to be flying all day trying to escape a fall. So we have to look in terms of what constitutes this equality that we're talking about. We must go to we must come to the table as equals. And once we do that, Madam Speaker, we will need to be able to speak to the UK at that point. We are not without value in this particular region. The 6 overseas territories combined are not without value. And once we get over to that other shore, we don't want to burn our bridges so much so that we can speak to the same UK who has been with us through thick and thin. They are friends, they are family. Some of us were educated there. Some of us go to medical school there. We have joined. I am uniquely qualified to say that they were engaging when it comes to the this global pandemic in terms of having all of what we need supplied. They secured the vaccine. They sent it down. They particularly communicated it in terms of what we must use, how we should use it. And I'm the only one that got berated by our very own people. But that's the order. That's the order of the day. Madam Speaker, we have a particular situation where in 2010, let us look at our vulnerabilities, yes? Am I allowed to answer you? Thank you very much. We had Hurricane Otto, either tropical storm or Hurricane Otto back in 2010. We had to get $16 million, and I think we're still spending some of that money. Have we completed the spending of all of the money now, Honorable Minister of Works? All that money is done? The $16 million from Otto. Almost done. So we had Hurricane Otto. We had the storms of August 6, 2017. Money is needed. Because we did not want to call a state of emergency and have the governor take over, we basically said, well, look, we will try to clean this up ourselves. The government took a lot of licks, a lot of blows for saying, well, look, let's clean this up ourselves. People have it as if they were turning back help from the UK. Not in Talgoso. And I think honorable members who were there at the time, excuse me? Well, I never mentioned that. So the whole thing is, Madam Speaker, is that we had the storms of August 6, 2017. Then we had the hurricanes of September, one on the 6th, one on the 20th. Lots of damage done. We had the pandemic of 2021. Money is needed. Lots of damage done. We have the COI being conducted. Not a public official want to move because they're afraid of Sir Gary Higginbottom and being questioned by him. Then we have the war in Ukraine. The whole world is suffering from high prices because of what is going on, and is going to get a little worse. How are we going to survive all of this unless we have some consideration in terms of the funding for the repair and recovery from catastrophic events? We have to deal with this, and with our particular resources. We're given tax breaks left, right, and center, and we must do this in order to keep moving, because we may not have the kind of monies, because in the UK, I'm hearing they're giving out monies. Here, take 1,000. Here, take 500. Here, take 200. Trillions of dollars in the United States, billions of dollars in the United Kingdom. When you look at the rate at which they've had to supply to their residents, to their particular status, Madam Speaker, they are doing what is required in order to keep their people moving. And we are looking, when the United Kingdom decided that they could not stop their progress and hold a commission of inquiry until 2023, the games were different in the Virgin Islands. They said, we can't hold one. We have too many people dying, too many people starving, too many people that need to be helped to stop it with a commission of inquiry. But what do? We have one. In fact, I had to sign in the governor, the commissioner, and his cohorts when they're coming in, because we were in lockdown. They were coming in the midst of a lockdown, to start an inquiry. When we needed to feed people, honorable member from the 6th was out looking for extra food supplies. Member from the 1st, the 3rd, all of the members, there was a pantry being set up by honorable member for the 7th, Premier, because we needed to, and all the members, we needed to make sure that our people were well taken care of. But what were we gifted with? A commission of inquiry. That's our gift. Yes, we had the vaccines. I take blows for it, but we had the vaccine. Not $2 million, not 10 million, not 50 million. A commission of inquiry. And what was said in that commission of inquiry, what it led to, it said that basically we have corruption untold. Public officials were taking money, giving it to the family, giving it to the friends, and distributing it willy-nilly. That's what was purported. That's why I want to see the affidavit, to see what was said in January 19th, so we can then determine exactly what, if this had the true merit. Because, some of the members say when they travel, some of the MPs don't have a clue what's happening down here. And folks are having us as if we are in here taking the stuff. I don't know of any other member, but I did not use any of it. And the records will have to bear it out. Said we were drug-pushing officials. None of the records show it. They give you a bound copy together with the appendices, and it is not in the cover, left to right, of this particular document. Madam Speaker. They said that the arrest has nothing to do with this commission of inquiry. I would beg to differ. I beg to differ. We'll have to see exactly where the proof lies out. Madam Speaker, we have two different playing fields that we're dealing with. When you look at the recommendations that were made in the report of Sir Gary Higginbottom, the honorable member went through the A4 recommendation, but then there's A2, A3, A4. It seeks to usurp the authority of some of the ministries. They're going to have to come back straight here to the law. This is why this is important, so that we don't have this same circular argument, because we're going to have to come back here and we're going to have to do this. And what it will seem to me is that the reason why this was laid and passed on June 9th, 2022 is because it will seem to me, I would love to be wrong, that it is predicted in the UK that some of these measures would not be successful in the House of Assembly, and as a result, if it is even for a week, 2 weeks, a month, that they may well have to suspend it as directed by the particular, as directed by the amendments of number 16 of 2022, in order to get these through, get that body and get it moving forward. I would love to be wrong, but it would seem to me as if the choices are not there. Although they're sending us to debate the provisions, it seems as if it's a done deal. You either like it or you don't. Take the register of interest. We had one particular acknowledgement, or we had agreed that we would come, we would make the elected members' interests public. We will add the fines necessary for non-compliance, and we will take our time to incorporate all of the other agencies, bodies of the public service. All of a sudden, this showed up as a done deal. And as a result of that, the deadline, the self-imposed deadline, was missed. But Madam Speaker, I am saying the documents that I spoke of will show you, once you take time out to read them, that they are nothing new. When you look at the April 23rd, 2012 Protocol for Financial Management, is it? Some of these items that shows up in this report is there. Effective financial management. When you look at the document of 24th November 2017, the framework for assistance from the storms, they made item by item, they made reference to our inability, as they put it, to adhere to what was promised back in 2012. They made reference to all of these. So they were not isolated, what showed up in that framework, than what was in the protocols. When you look at, there was a fierce debate. There was a very strong debate in March, I think it was, of 2018, when the Recovery for Development Agency, RDA Act, the loan guarantee, came to the House of Assembly. It was a fierce battle. You thought you were going to have mutiny. 2 members, one here, one over there, are the only 2 that end up voted against it. One stayed home. The one with the most um, to say about it, was absent at that particular vote. But the same issues that shows up now is what showed up then. And I read the transcript. Some of the members, they were quite correct in saying, we don't want to give up our freedom. We don't feel that this is correct. We feel as if you're overstepping your boundaries. We feel. When it comes to the vote, everybody turned court, save for two. 1, 2. Well, one wasn't there. One was absent. It was a 10-2 vote, no? Well, the record is wrong. You see, this is why you have to have proper records. The record says 10-2. 10-2, and then there was one that was absent. So at the end of the day, you have these things, and these things were showing up. They were being brought forward because as far as the UK was concerned, they had a done deal signed arrangement on how the RDA was going to take over all of the capital projects. They were going to have a reporting mechanism which was second to none. They were going to have this particular body running the particular projects. I'm not sure if the same members are not being lobbied for this role, new role under this new regime. Madam Speaker, the fact is that if you take time to recant history, to look at it, you would find that these things are common. These things are nothing new. They're there. It will keep repeating itself, so forth, right? And the same particular concerns then are the concerns now. But we can get through this. We can get through this if we are honest in terms of making that simple question: what constitutes a victory for the UK? What constitutes a victory for the BVI? So we can then move to the other stage. We can then join as, well, almost equals at the table. We can then decide, well, what is it that the UK can do for us, what we can do for the UK, and then we can then live in peace and harmony. Right now, we are guessing. They know what they want because in the Global Britain Initiative, they have a number of set stuff that they are resolute about. On the other hand, the UK government needs to ensure that those who should be able to claim British overseas territory citizenship can do so, and that overseas territory citizens can access NHS treatment in the UK when they need to. On the other hand, belongers and its equivalents are wrong. We shouldn't have belongers. We shouldn't have the belongership status. They say that it is wrong. We do not accept that there is any justification to deny legally resident British overseas territory and UK citizens the right to vote and to hold elected office. The United Kingdom government should initiate a consultation with the elected government of the OTs and agree a plan to ensure that there is a pathway for all resident UK and British overseas territory citizens to be able to vote and hold elected office. Moreover, those OTs that have not yet legalized same-sex marriage should move towards doing so immediately. These steps can ensure that the concept of global Britain can be underpinned by shared values and commitments. It's in a document. So when you see it show up in the report, it's nothing new. It's there. If you take time to research these things, you will find that this report that was written on 30th of February 2019 have all the tenets, and from 1 through 9, the recommendations begin to show themselves. If you don't pass them as directed, we will pass them for you. Send them down. Make them part of the order. We have to make a decision as to exactly what it is that we will accept, not accept, and at the end of the day, if you're going to have the circular arguments, well, then you would have a problem because at the end of the day, they have more ships, they have more guns, and they have more nuclear weapons. We have a particular problem, Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker. Sorry about that. We have a particular arena where we have an arena where it is an open secret that even in the Foreign and Commonwealth Development Office, that we have issues with the economy throughout the United Kingdom. I love to get source documents. So in Politico, it says that the incredible shrinking global Britain, not me, is here. So they have to show up. Because remember, once you leave the EU, then you have other challenges that you have. It says that the UK will face its worst inflation. UK will face worse inflation than other major economies. And this is with the World Bank governor. You have 15 to 20% of the staff of the FCDO that are being laid off. Nothing to do. So they're being deployed, I would suspect, this is not sure, to the Virgin Islands, to Bermuda, to Caymans, to Anguilla. I'm not standing by it. I'm not saying it as a matter of fact. But what I'm saying to you is, one of the questions is, how many staff are we going to be receiving from the United Kingdom, or foreign staff? It's only a question, because we're going to have to pay for them. So the budget have to come here anyway. So I know that the immediate past leader of the opposition was quite keen. Show me the figures, right? You're a figure man. See, he loves to see the figures, see the details. The budget is being asked for, and I'll be surprised if on Thursday some of it don't come for passage. But let us know exactly what it is so that we can constitute what game we're playing, cricket or baseball. When you hit the ball out of the park, can we go home? The game is won. Do we have to keep swimming? We need to know the rules of engagement. And I'm just under our hour. So I can just say that I wouldn't use much more at all, other than to say we have other areas within those recommendations. And I'm saying is that the nation, the population, don't have to wait until the elephant step on your toes. The public officials are concerned. So we have a 6-page document that came in, voicing their particular concern. Fine. The magistrates and legal profession, they're concerned. So we have writings from them. The Christian Council, they're concerned. The elephant is on their toes. It's too late. Elephant is here already. We need all of us to read these and then to make a determination so that at the end of the day, if we're going to keep fairing ourselves, fairing our very own selves, and because you know that the sheep is hardly eaten by the fox. It's a shepherd that always eats the sheep. So here we go. The sheep go and they follow the shepherd every day, morning, noon, and night, only to be eaten by the same shepherd. I will protect you from the fox. I'm ready to eat you. Well, here we go. Madam Speaker, I think you have said that lunch is just about ready. The conversation around this cannot just end here. It has to be taken out. So I applaud the government for going around and seeking to look at the points which they have agreed. But there's a bigger conversation to have. And that is what we need to have. We cannot be afraid to ask the question, if not now, when? If not now, when? Waiting until 2029 and then saying we don't have time. Can you imagine? I'll give you one, I sometimes stray away, but I wouldn't stray too far on this one.
May I ask how much more time you would need?
2 minutes. So we have, and this is for the Honorable Member of Health, Minister of Health to deal. This year marks the 100th anniversary of healthcare in the BVI. I was adamant that we have a 100-year celebration to bring it in. I know you're not a big celebrant, but at the end of the day, we must be able to look in terms, we must be able to get this 100-year anniversary on the road. And do you believe that folks are telling you that they don't have enough time? 100 years to prepare for this, and they're telling you at the last minute they don't have enough time. How can you get here? Could you imagine that back in the, when was this United Nations declaration that we must release the non-self-governing states? Back in the 40s, right? 45, right? 45. Look at the time given for this to be done. And we're going to talk about we don't have enough time. If not now, when? Thank you.
Thank you.